Father Percy, in the 200 plus years that the Catholic Church has provided health services in Australia, has anything like this ever happened before?
The short answer is no, N-O. Never seen anything like it before. What your viewers need to know is that they have suspended their normal standing order. So on the 11th of May, they put through the bill, what is called the Infrastructure, ACT Infrastructure Enabling Bill, 11th of May. And then on the 3rd of July, they're going to do the compulsory acquisition, as you just referred to. So two things have happened there. One is they're going to say, well, there'll be no period of 2 months of discussion, which was put in there, I believe, by the Greens. So they're saying those standing orders are going to be rescinded. So no reports, no discussion, no inquiries, just bang, ram it through. And secondly, and I think this is very telling, is that they're going to suspend their own ACT Land Acquisition Act of 1994, which describes how you're supposed to do compulsory acquisitions on just terms. So they've said, no, that doesn't apply here either. So what we've got here is a real problem. And your viewers need to know that if they can do this to a medical institution, they can do it to an educational institution, they can do it to anyone's suburb, any other community group, any street, anyone's house. So this is setting a precedent. So what the bottom line really is this, Lyle, is that governments can do compulsory acquisitions. We know that and we don't like it. We understand they can do it for the common good, in inverted commas, but they've got to do it according to their own rule of law, and they've got to do it on just terms. For the ACT government to say, look, we're going to do the compulsory acquisition and then we'll talk about just terms, I mean, this is ridiculous. Yeah. It's against everything Australia stands for. So we've been saying we've got to get big people involved, we've got to get the Prime Minister involved, but your viewers can sign our petition, which now has about 28,000 signatures on it. The biggest one we've ever had was 1,200 to date. So this has exploded. But they've got to write to their state and federal members and say that the Prime Minister has got to get to bar and say, listen, you cannot behave in such a barbaric fashion.
Unbelievable. We'll come back to what people can do in a moment. It is so important that we take action. But what you've just outlined there, Father Percy, is just extraordinary. The lengths that they're going to bend the rules and to take over this hospital is just extraordinary. Let's have a look a little bit at the motivations that might be behind this. In its Standing Committee Health Report released on the 10th of April of this year, the ACT government has cited as part of its reasoning for the compulsory takeover is that Calvary allegedly restricts some medical procedures and that it is problematic due to an overriding religious ethos, end quote. Now, Archbishop Anthony Fisher, the Archbishop of Sydney, has described the ACT government as having an anti-life agenda. Father Percy, is that the elephant in the room here? Is it because Calvary is pro-life that the government is going to these extraordinary lengths?
Yeah, well, you're right. I mean, that report was the fruit of a whole consultation about how the government provided or does provide abortion services. And a lot of people had input into it. Okay, the report comes out, as you said, on the 10th of April, 2023. That's about a month ago. And on page 2 of that document, it says, look, Calvary doesn't perform abortions, but then it says neither does the main public hospital, known as the Canberra Hospital, the TCH, neither do they perform abortions, that most abortions are performed, or all abortions are performed in medical practices around the city. And there's a very good reason as to why that's the case. It's because the doctors, if you talk to the doctors and the nurses, they don't like doing abortions. It's a specialised thing, unfortunately. And so that's acknowledged. This is acknowledged. So then at the back end of the report, the quote that you've just pulled out there, that's put in there that the medical services have an unusually religious overtone. And I've been making the point to say, well, no one's ever said that. Secondly, no one's ever said St Vincent's in Sydney's ever done it, or the Mater in Brisbane, or the Mercy in Victoria. It's quite ridiculous.
It's very ridiculous.
So there's got to be some sort of religious motive. There's no doubt about it. Well, I mean, Barr and his government, they're known as people that don't like people of faith.